Hey gang, I'm on a 2-mile hike here east of YUMA, 310 to YUMA, Arizona. I am in the middle of the desert, but it's not bad hiking actually, but I wanted to show you this as I'm walking in. I am pretty sure this is a grave. Maybe not. I don't know. What do you guys think? So anyway, got another quarter mile or so, and then we should be at the Oatman family grave. And then from there, actually I'm going to go to the massacre site, and we'll start this program at the massacre site. All right, see you in a bit. All right, guys, enjoying the hike. Got lots of water, got no place to be. What's the rush? Actually, we're finally near the destination here. And up ahead there's some farmland. It is an active farm. But once we get through this scrabble, then we can walk around this. The road here gets to the grave. Okay, I'm at a point where I did make it to the grave, but I passed the grave up. We'll get back to that. I want to start at the massacre site. And the massacre site is located on the top of this, call it this bluff here. We got to get up to the top of that. And I'm guessing I have found some stairs here. It's a really intriguing area, like a little hollow here. So if you come here, you guys can probably drive. I mean, there are roads in here. You got to get past the gate. But I want to do the 2-mile hike. Yeah, I enjoy hiking, so I'm going to hike out of here. I got, like I said, plenty of water. So let's go down the stairs. Let's follow this trail. And this may take us to the massacre site up there. There's that gate post that I was standing by when we first came in. And this is the climb that you make. It's not all that bad. There's actually a trail that goes up here, and as we pan up over here, this is the massacre site where the Oatman family was killed. And you see there is a post and a rock pile commemorating where it happened. And I will tell you the story. We'll tell the first part of the story here, and then we'll go backtrack to the grave, the mass grave. So Ann and Royce Oatman had 7 children. Ann may have been pregnant with their 8th during their journey here from Illinois to this Gila River. The Oatman children ranged in age from 1 to 17, the eldest being Lucy Oatman. And they were Mormons, but they were part of a specific sect called the Brewsterites. It was a group headed by James Brewster and a guy named James Goodale. Now, Brewster believed that the Rio Grande Valley was the promised land, but there was a split between these leaders. And it was seen that there was a group that splintered off, and they said California is the place you ought to be. So they loaded up the truck, I should say they loaded up the wagon, and they moved to, we won't say Beverly, but they moved, you know where they were going. So it was August of 1850, and they set out. The Oatman family chose to desert the Brewster group along with some 40 or 50 others to head to California. 6 or 7 months later, in February of 1851, came through Tucson, and they stopped at the friendly Pima villages there. And the reason they stopped is they were told that going any further was going to be very dangerous from attacks from other tribes, namely the Apaches. Well, Royce didn't want to stop, and he decided to continue on, take the family with. It was not a good choice. Obviously, we can say that looking here. It was on February 18th, their 4th day out, and the Oatmans were approached right here, where we stand, by a group of Yavapais. They were Native Americans who were asking for tobacco and food. And the Yavapais they're in a Apache tribe of the YUMAs, and they were popularly known as the Apache Mojave. Mojave Apache, meaning hostile or warlike Mojaves. And there were 17 of them here. They approached, and I want you to just imagine, so we're on the top of this mesa, or this flatland, and I want you to just imagine standing here and looking out, and I'm sure they saw the dust cloud of the Oatmans, or the Oatmans saw the dust cloud of the Yavapais, 17 coming, I'm sure on horse, and thinking, uh-oh. Well, they approached, they wanted tobacco, they smoked it. I mean, Royce gave them the tobacco, and they came back, they said, we want food. Now, they did not have enough food, only enough food to get from where they came from here and to get to California. I mean, you couldn't give up the food. But the Yavapais became irritated, and they went off to the side and they started talking. And then they came back and they attacked. And they clubbed the family to death. Now, all were killed except 3 of the children. 15-year-old Lorenzo, the boy, he was left for dead. And 14-year-old Olive and her 7-year-old sister, Marianne. And they were not killed, actually, because they were, which was common at the time, they would be taken as slaves. Well, after the attack, amazingly, probably hours later, Lorenzo woke up. And, of course, he remembered what happened. He figured everybody was dead. Of course, he saw the bodies. He did not see little Marianne or Olive, but he's staggering around here. And it is this treacherous area that I'm going to walk to that we actually walked up. And it is right here that he staggered. So this, it's not a cliff, but it's massive boulders you can see here. And I want you to imagine, let's imagine together that we are him. We have blood in our eyes. We are staggering, our head is beaten in. And we've got to walk over, of course I'm going to show you the trail if you come here this way. Back up here, there looks like ATV trails you can get in from this side, but this is a cleared rock. This is cleared rock for people to walk up, but I'm going to tell you, when he was staggering, he was walking over this. Imagine, dazed and bewildered, and right there is the edge, right here. And he fell, he tumbled down, and there he laid. There he laid for who knows how long, but he did finally get up. He dusted himself off as best he could, and he got the heck out of here. He staggered around. You can just imagine that very little water. Now, February, I'm not sure if there's water here in the river. Of course, right now it's dry, and I believe we have monsoon season coming up. Well, he made it back, and everybody, you know, they got him back to health. And he told everybody what happened. I think it was 4 days later they came here, and the bodies were still here, rotting in the sun. So they buried him. No one is sure where. They believe it could be where we came from, down in the valley there. We're going to go there now, and we'll talk about the rest of the story. So as I said, the bodies were rotting away, and Lorenzo made the hazardous trek to find help. When he reached his own people, where his wounds were treated, as I said, he rejoined. They rejoined, they came back, and they were just rotting away. So there was a detailed retelling which was reprinted in newspapers over the decades. I mean, no one knows for sure, but they had said that. He said, "We buried the bodies of father, mother, and babe in one common grave. The men had no way of digging proper graves. We've got volcanic rocky soil here, so they gathered the bodies together and formed that rock cairn that we are going to see now. Again, not sure if they are here because this here is all sand, and this could just be a memorial. There was a guy named Charles Poston who's kind of famous. He's an American explorer and prospector, politician. He's referred to as the father of Arizona, and he's actually one of the people really responsible for founding of the state, but they say that he buried their bodies or supervised it, and that, but we were just not sure. But Lorenzo, at that moment, he said, "I'm just never going to stop looking for my family, the rest of my family," because, of course, Olive and Marianne were missing, and kind of figured out that after talking to the people, yeah, that's pretty typical. They take them as slaves. That's it. They're gone. Unless we can get the Fort YUMA in action, and we'll talk about that. So, after the attack from the position of the girls, the Yavapais took them along with the belongings, all the goodies that they could take, and of course Olive and Marianne. So it was interesting to note that although Olive Oatman later identified her captors as members of the Tonto Apache tribe, they were probably of the Tolakapaya tribe. There was about 85 of them living about 8 miles southwest of Gila in the mountains here. So after arriving at the village, the native village, the girls thought that they would be killed. But as I said, they were used for slaves, like foraging for food. They had to lug water around, firewood, and do all the menial tasks. And they were frequently beaten. Now, there was another group of Native Americans that came, the Mojave, and they would trade with the Yavapai. And the daughter of the chief, Espanol, saw the girls, and she tried to make a trade. She saw the predicament, but the Yavapais refused. But the chief's daughter persisted. Her name was Topeka, and she kept returning, offering to trade. Finally, the Yavapais gave in. They got enough good stuff, enough goods, horses, beads, blankets. They said, okay, you can take the girls. Now, the Mojave tribe was more prosperous than the Yavapais, and both the tribal leaders' wife, whose name was Espanol, and daughter Topeka, they took care of the girls. Olive had a deep connection developed with these two women and the tribe. as she stayed over the years, because she would be in captivity for quite a while. They arranged for the Oatman girls to be given plots of land to farm. They really became part of the tribe, and they were adjusting and assimilating very well. And that is where you see the picture, the famous picture of Olive Oatman with the tattoo on her chin, which is actually blue in color, or was blue in color. Sadly, Olive would say later that her younger sister Marianne would just yearn and yearn to be with Mama and Papa in the quote-unquote better world where they had gone. And eventually she would join them, because she would die of dehydration not long after. There was a drought here, and with a drought, no river, no food, and it was only the gruel that the chief's daughter would make that was keeping the girls alive, and Marianne finally died. We're at the grave right now of the massacre victims. Let's take a look. Just a simple stone. No inscription. The rocks. This was put here by a volunteer group many years ago. The Arizona Society, Daughters of the American Revolution, 1954. In memory of the Oatman family, 6 members of this pioneer family massacred by Indians in March 1851. I think it was February. I don't know that that's right, but we will go with it. It's a beautiful memorial here. Definitely worth the hike. The Mojave were trading with surveyors. I mean, there was one time the surveyors were there for a week, and Olive made no motion to say, hey, I'm being held captive. She didn't even want to leave. She stayed with the Mojave. She loved the people. They loved her. However, rumors would finally make their way to the fort. Rumors that they had there was a white woman being held captive, and the tribe was told, hey, you better give up this woman. We hear you have a woman. They sent a messenger, a young boy, and he said, you know, if you don't release her, they're going to destroy your tribe. And at first they resisted. They said, no, we're not going to release Olive. But they finally, for the betterment of the tribe, they came to their senses, and she returned. It was a 20-mile march that she would make to return to the fort. Now, the Mojave and many of the Native Americans back then, you know, they would be topless, and all Olive had on was a skirt and no top. So one of the wives, I think, of one of the officers, maybe even the commander, came out with a dress for Olive and got her in the dress before she actually walked in the fort. And when she walked in the fort, everybody rejoiced. And of course the word got out. Lorenzo reunited, and the two of them were left. And they went on to become pretty famous in this country, the story. Of course, the story was glamorized, and against the anti-sentiment of Native Americans back then, called Indians, was pretty strong. So there was a lot of things about this story that were made up. But I have told you what is probably the most true. It's not probably all true, but it's the best we're going to get, because a lot of it is probably lost to the sands of time. But there was a massacre here, and there was a family who died here. And may they rest in peace.